What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. I'm cutting my second video of the day today. If you guys want to check out my review of the movie Drop, go check that out on this channel. Today I'm doing Steeler coverage, and I've been doing the series in the offseason where I ask you guys, should the Pittsburgh Steelers draft so-and-so at pick 21? Pittsburgh, obviously, all offseason long, are they going to draft this person, this one could fall, this one's draft stock is rising, could Pittsburgh trade up, trade back, what should they do? There's all this hyperbole around the Pittsburgh's draft stock, so I'm breaking down potential picks that Pittsburgh could make at pick 21 and asking you guys the question, is it worth drafting them or not? Is this going to be a reach? Is this possible? Is it all just speculation? So I want to break down different prospects each week and ask you guys, should they draft? Today, my initial video was going to be Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. And you will have to excuse my breathing. I'm definitely sniffly. I'm definitely just got like a random just like breathing thing going on today. But I was going to make this video strictly about Jackson Dart because Pittsburgh has been talked about going after the third quarterback in this draft at pick 21. People are saying Jackson Dart is a Steeler-style quarterback. Recently, over the past week, all the speculation is that Shedeur Sanders either falls to 21 to Pittsburgh or potentially could fall to like 12 to 14 and Pittsburgh trades up to get Shedeur Sanders. Now, first things first, I want to say I don't want Pittsburgh to trade up in this draft at all. If you're coming into a draft where you've got 3 or 4 really big needs, you got 1 or 2 starters you got to fill, and you got a bunch of depth spots that are pretty important, I don't like the idea of trading up in general in this space. But this is not really a quarterback draft in my opinion. This is not a draft where I trust a lot of quarterbacks beyond Cam Ward, who's going number 1, and you're not trading up to number 1. So Cam Ward is the only surefire quarterback in this draft, and you're not getting him. So you're reaching on a quarterback. Secondly, Pittsburgh traded away their second-round pick for DK Metcalf, so there's no second-round pick. So you really can't even make an early pick. Once you trade up and that main first pick is gone, you're not drafting again until the 3rd round, and you have some things to fill. And if you're going to trade up for a quarterback, that means you're not getting an elite D tackle in this draft, and you're hoping that some of your good mid-round running backs fall a little bit. You're hoping for a lot of things there when you have a lot of holes that are pretty big. So right away, the whole speculation is Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart. I'm going to bring up these 2 in particular, along with Jalen Milroe. Those are kind of the 3 that are being linked to Pittsburgh the most, which is wild because Shedeur wasn't considered a possibility at this point a few weeks ago, and Quinn Ewers from Texas was the big talk. So here's my thing. I'm going to mainly cover Dart and Sanders in this video, and I'm not going to bring like stat breakdowns. I'm just going to give you overall views of what I've seen. Now, Shedeur Sanders has, kind of the higher ceiling, I guess, considering, just the speed and the playmaking ability, but he looks to me a lot like, a smaller, kind of underdeveloped version of Lamar Jackson. The guy is a freakish athlete who can extend plays, but a lot of his highlights are twofold. A lot of his highlights are one-on-one contested deep balls where he threw the ball really not in a good position and didn't really give the receiver the best chance, and they went up and stole it anyway. You got somebody as good as Travis Hunter out there, one of the best receivers in the league, making plays. You got a handful of other solid receivers that were really just catching balls they had no business catching because the balls were not thrown in the best of coverage, the read wasn't the best, and the receiver made the play to save the quarterback's butt. A lot of his touchdowns should have been interceptions. And the other big thing is, Shedeur is very, very good at extending plays. He's got a strong deep ball, one of those sideline balls essentially, and he does do a great job of avoiding sacks and extending plays. And you can do that at the NFL level. We've seen a bunch of guys do it from college. We've seen Lamar do it, Kyler Murray do it, Jalen Hurts do it. A lot of guys have gotten good at that, and I think Shedeur is going to shine at that early on. But if you're relying solely on that speed is not going to suffice against a lot of NFL teams. The NFL is a lot faster of a game in terms of playmaking style, playmakers off the edge rusher speed, the power you're going against. There's going to be a lot of factors that take away Shedeur Sanders' best attributes. He doesn't throw a lot of the route tree. His decision-making isn't always the best. He forces the ball sometimes. He doesn't really throw a lot of things aside from those one-on-one go balls. I don't think he's that well-rounded. I think he has a long ways to go. He is a raw athlete that has a high ceiling that has not been tested and had, one really good year in Colorado, and then last year was also decent but not as good as his first year. For Jackson Dart's a little more well-rounded, a little more complete. He's got 4 seasons. He played his first 6 games in his first season at USC and then transferred to Ole Miss, where his stats aren't as high as the 2 years from Shedeur Sanders, but you do see exponential improvement and growth every year. You see the completion percentage go up every single year. You see the overall yards go up. You see the touchdowns go up. Every year, Jackson Dart did get better. He's also got a running style that is pretty strong. He runs through guys. Now, again, you're not going to run through as many guys and make your runs look as easy. He does a lot of goal line draws and stuff like that. Really effective with his running game around the goal line. But in the NFL, guys are a lot bigger and faster. You're not going to be able to do that quite as much. That being said, I think his style is kind of sustainable in a much lighter version of a Josh Allen from Buffalo, kind of that physical style. Pittsburgh would liken him to Big Ben. I think that's kind of why he's getting mocked to Pittsburgh a lot. He has that kind of more physical style, broad shoulders, strong guy, likes to finish the runs. Can't do that as much in the NFL as in college, but I do think he has that nice benefit that Shedeur doesn't have, being a much smaller, sleeker quarterback. He's not as fast as Shedeur, obviously, but he can make moves with his feet. He doesn't also throw a ton of the route tree. He's one of those guys that he throws a lot of deep balls too, but he's throwing deep balls where his guys are getting a step or two of separation, and then he's hitting his guys in stride. Where Shedeur was just tossing up the one-on-one ball and letting his guys go and get it and kind of save him and bail him out. I think that a lot of the Jackson Dart deep balls were, guys like number 11, I can't think of his name, and then you have guys like Trey Harris, guys that were kind of getting a step or two on their guys, and Jackson Dart was just hitting them with dots over the top of the defense. So while Jackson Dart's arm probably is not going to be considered quite as strong as Shedeur Sanders, I think it's stronger in the throws that I saw him make. He does throw a bit more of the stuff across the middle as well. He's not afraid to go with slants and stuff like that. Still doesn't feel like a complete quarterback, but it does feel like his decision-making is a little better. His interceptions are a little bit higher, but he threw a lot more contested stuff to me. So I think Jackson Dart's the better of the two quarterbacks. I think Shedeur's the most overrated one in this draft. Again, high ceiling, but we have not seen enough, and I don't like what I've seen so far. So I've got Shedeur much, much lower. Here's the problem. This particular quarterback draft is a draft where it feels like everyone minus Cam Ward, who's going first to the Titans, everyone else is a big reach. And it feels like teams are going to start reaching if they feel like they need a quarterback because, we might as well get him now because he's there. The last time that happened in a draft like this, when the quarterback class felt overall very weak and teams were reaching, was the Kenny Pickett draft class. Pittsburgh reached for Kenny Pickett at pick 20 4 years ago, and nobody else touched a quarterback until mid-round 3. Teams waited 2.5 more rounds to get quarterbacks, and Pittsburgh went for their hometown guy. And not only was he then traded, but is no longer on his second team. He is now in Cleveland backing up Joe Flacco. He is now on his third team. Like that's how bad Kenny Pickett is. And the other guys in that class didn't wind up being any better. You got one in the UFL right now. You got one in Malik Willis, who had one of the worst NFL starts in history when he played. You have a really bad class there, and we all felt that it was a bad class, and teams reached anyway. I think that's going to happen in this draft. Now, would I draft Jackson Dart if he fell to the third round? I think so. I think in this draft, ideally, the best scenario for me is you trade back 6 or 7 spots to get a second-round pick. You go from 21 to 26 or 27, and then you get a second-round pick. So you can draft your D-tackle first, you can draft your running back in the second, and then you can very calmly draft a quarterback in the third. If you only have 2 picks, I really think D-tackle and running back are the picks you have to go for. I think you're going to find some decent running backs in the third round. But if you get a second round pick, that could even be a place where you go get the quarterback, right? You trade back 6, 7 picks. You still get one of your big 4D tackles that are there. And then you go back a few picks to get a second round pick. And the second round is where you get your quarterback. If they go for Jackson Dart in round 3, I think that's an accurate place for him. If you wind up with a Jackson Dart, I don't like Jalen Milroe in this draft, but if you get a Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers is my number 2 quarterback in this draft. That's not saying much. But if you get a Quinn Ewers in round 3, I think those are value picks. Those are guys that don't have to come in on day one and be expected to be the starter or the franchise guy. I don't think anyone thinks there's the franchise guy in this draft. But right now, you only have 2 quarterbacks on your roster. Pittsburgh has mismanaged their quarterback situation this season so much with just Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. And guys are just flying off the board now. So unless Pittsburgh is going to make a trade, Aaron Rodgers still has us in limbo, and I'm tired of the Rodgers speculation at this point. I'm so over it. So Pittsburgh needs to fill that roster out and needs to give somebody some hope for the future. So they may go for a quarterback here, but I wouldn't go for one before round 3. Like I said, if you trade back and you get a second-round pick and you feel like your quarterback is going to go a little early, because they usually do, and you have faith that you can get a good round 3 running back in this draft because running back is so deep where quarterback is not, I could justify a round 2 quarterback pick. What I can't justify is picking at 21 and going for a quarterback. If you're going to stay steady there, you got to go D-tackle first. D-tackle and running back are places you need guys to plug and play this season. Quarterback, you can probably get by with just Mason Rudolph. But the problem is, with the Rodgers situation and not signing somebody else, you do need to sign a quarterback at some point. So, would I draft Jackson Dart in the 3rd? Yes. Would I draft Jackson Dart in the 2nd? Maybe if the circumstances fall the right way, yes. Would I draft Shedeur Sanders? Maybe same scenario. Not even 3rd round for me. 4th round for Shedeur, not as big on Shedeur. If we're going for a mid-range quarterback, I would take Ewers or Jackson Dart. I wouldn't take Shedeur or Milroe. I think that running style quarterback that's underdeveloped has me a little weary after Bryce Young and Tua's injuries, some of the Alabama quarterback history, some of the rushing quarterbacks not being passing quarterbacks in the NFL. I know that's where the league is going, but it's not going there for me. So, to answer the question, would I draft one of these 2 quarterbacks in the 1st round, or any quarterback in the 1st round for that matter? I would not. Would you? What do you think? Am I being too harsh on these guys? Do we see a potential future franchise quarterback in this draft? Would you take Shedeur if he falls to us? Would you take Jackson Dart? Is there anybody I missed? Am I being too hard on some of these guys? What do you think about the future franchise quarterback potential in this draft? Tell me in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to these Pittsburgh Steelers deep dives. And what other players or positions would you like to see me break down on the Should the Steelers Draft videos? Take care, guys. Go Steelers.